The night was unusually still, the kind of silence that presses down on your chest and makes every little noise feel like a shout. Inside his modest suburban home, Mark sat alone in his dimly lit living room, wrapped in a threadbare blanket, his breath visible in the cold air. The old heater had broken down earlier that evening, and the temperature was dropping fast. Downstairs in the basement, something stirred. Mark wasn't sure what woke him at first. Maybe it was the faint creak of the floorboards, or the subtle hum that seemed out of place in his quiet home. Curiosity gnawed at him, and despite the cold that bit at his fingers and toes, he decided to check it out. As he descended the stairs, the temperature dropped further, a sharp, biting cold unlike anything he had felt before. The basement light flickered, casting long, eerie shadows on the cracked concrete walls. He rubbed his arms, trying to shake off the chill. Then he saw her. She was crouched in the far corner, barely moving, her skin a pale shade of blue that almost glowed in the darkness. Her eyes, wide and desperate, locked onto his as he froze in place. Her form was slender, but her presence was commanding, alien and yet strangely familiar. "Freeze alert," she whispered urgently, her voice trembling but firm. "Get in my bed now." Mark blinked, confusion flooding his mind. The words made no sense, but the desperation behind them was unmistakable. "Your bed?" he stammered, inching closer. The cold seemed to emanate from her, and despite the warmth of his coat, he shivered uncontrollably. "Please," she said again, voice breaking, "we're freezing. If you don't, I won't survive." A sudden shiver racked her body, and Mark could see frost forming on her skin. His rational mind fought with the surreal reality in front of him. Was this some kind of hallucination, a prank? But the fear in her eyes was real. He glanced around and noticed a makeshift bed, old blankets and a mattress pushed into the corner, barely big enough for one person. Slowly, almost reluctantly, Mark sat down beside her, the cold radiating from her skin, chilling him to the bone. She moved closer, wrapping her arms around him. The warmth of his body slowly seeped into her frozen limbs, and she sighed with relief. "Thank you," she murmured, eyes closing briefly. "You don't know how much this means." Mark's mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where did she come from? Why was she in his basement? Before he could ask, a sudden noise made them both freeze. The basement door slammed shut with a heavy thud, and the lock clicked into place. Mark's heart pounded. "Who's there?" he called out, voice trembling. No answer came, only silence, and the faint, eerie hum that seemed to grow louder. The alien woman's eyes snapped open. "They're coming," she said grimly. "We don't have much time." Mark looked at her, fear and determination mingling in his gaze. Somehow, despite everything, he knew he had to help her. But what exactly was he getting himself into? The basement light flickered again, plunging them into semi-darkness, as the chilling night outside pressed in harder than ever. Mark sat frozen beside the strange alien woman in his basement, his mind spinning faster than his heartbeat. The icy chill clung to the air like a ghost, thick and unrelenting. Outside, he could faintly hear muffled footsteps approaching the house, slow but deliberate. The woman's pale blue skin shimmered faintly in the dim light, and her wide eyes were sharp now, alert and calculating. She turned to Mark, her voice barely a whisper. "They're government agents," she said urgently. "They've been hunting me since I was exiled." "Exiled," Mark repeated, the word heavy in his throat. "From where? Who are you?" She hesitated, then slowly began to speak. "I'm called Lyra. I come from a distant world, far beyond your stars. My people cast me out for something they said was a crime, but it was a lie." Mark leaned in, compelled by her desperation. "What was the lie?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "I tried to protect my planet from destruction. I opposed the ruling council's war plans. They labeled me a traitor and sent me away to wander the universe alone and hunted." Her story felt surreal, Yet the pain and truth in her voice were undeniable. "And why come here? Why Earth?" Mark asked. "Earth is a refuge for now," she said. "But my enemies follow. If they find me here, it could mean the end of more than just my life." Before Mark could respond, the basement door rattled violently. "They're trying to break in," Lyra warned. "We need to act fast." Mark's heart thundered as he scrambled to his feet. His simple life had shattered in an instant, replaced by a terrifying new reality. Lyra reached into a small pouch hanging from her waist and pulled out a strange device, smooth, metallic, and glowing. Faintly, "This will help us," she said, "but it's risky." Mark watched as she pressed a button, and a shimmering barrier appeared around the basement entrance. The agent's pounding fists struck the shield uselessly. "We have minutes," Lyra said. "I need to share something important before they break through." Mark nodded, breath ragged. "Go on." Lyra's eyes locked with his. "There's a technology I possess, one that could change your world forever. It's powerful, but dangerous if misused." Mark swallowed hard. "What kind of technology?" "It's a device that can manipulate energy at a fundamental level. Heal, destroy, and create. The ruling council feared it because it could end their war." Mark's mind reeled. "And you have it here?" "Yes, but it's incomplete. I need to finish its calibration. If the agent sees it first..." Her voice faltered. Mark looked at the strange device in her hand, the weight of the moment settling on him like a stone. Suddenly, the barrier flickered. The pounding grew louder. "We must move," Lyra said urgently. She grabbed Mark's hand, pulling him toward a hidden door in the basement wall. "Where does this lead?" he asked, heart-pounding. "To safety for now," she replied. They slipped through the narrow passage, descending deeper underground into a network of tunnels Mark never knew existed beneath his home. The air grew warmer, the cold retreating. Lyra guided him quickly but carefully, explaining as they moved. "My exile wasn't just punishment," she said quietly. "It was a mission, to protect Earth from a threat my people caused." Mark frowned. "What threat?" Lyra paused, eyes distant. "A weapon of unimaginable power, hidden somewhere on your planet. If it falls into the wrong hands, it could destroy not just Earth, but many worlds." Mark's mind raced. Could this be real? Aliens, secret weapons, government agents. His ordinary life felt like a fading dream. As they reached the end of the tunnel, a dim light flickered ahead. Lyra stopped suddenly. "We're not alone," she whispered. Mark peered forward. Figures moved in the shadows, humans, but not like the agents outside. More cautious, less aggressive. One stepped forward, revealing a familiar but alien face. "I'm Kyle," the stranger said softly. "I'm here to help." Mark stared, disbelief mixing with relief. "Another alien?" he asked. Kyle nodded. "In hiding, like Lyra. We've been monitoring your planet, waiting for the right moment." Mark's head spun with questions, but before he could speak, loud explosions shook the tunnel behind them. "The agents found a way through," Lyra said grimly. "We have no time." Kyle pulled a small device from his pocket. "This will cloak us temporarily." A shimmering veil surrounded them, and the sounds of pursuit faded. As they moved deeper underground, Mark realized his world had changed forever. The alien woman who once seemed a stranger was now a lifeline, and the secrets buried beneath Earth threatened to unravel everything he thought he knew. The hidden tunnels beneath Mark's home stretched deep into the Earth, twisting and turning, like veins carrying secrets long buried. The faint glow from Kyle's device cast wavering shadows on the damp walls, painting the air with an eerie light that flickered with every step. Mark's breath echoed in his chest as he followed Lyra and Kyle, heart pounding with a strange mix of fear and fascination. He had never believed in aliens or government conspiracies until tonight. Now, every moment pressed heavier with the weight of uncertainty. Kyle glanced back at Mark, his eyes steady and calm. "You're stronger than you think," he said, softly. "Being human isn't a weakness here." Mark swallowed hard, trying to absorb the strange words. Lyra's voice cut through the silence. "We don't have much time. The agents outside will soon breach the main entrance. We need to reach the safe chamber before they do." "The safe chamber?" Mark asked. "It's a secured area beneath the city, designed by my people long ago. It holds knowledge and technology, things that could help us stop the Council's plans," Lyra explained. "But it's not easy to get to." As they navigated the labyrinthine tunnels, Mark's mind raced with questions. Why Earth? Why him? And what exactly was the danger looming over humanity? Kale spoke before Mark could ask. "Your planet is more important than you realize, not just a refuge, but a key to something greater." Mark looked at him confused. "Greater how?" Kyle hesitated. "There's a balance in the universe, a fragile one. Your world sits at its center. If it tips, everything else could collapse." Suddenly a distant rumble shook the tunnels. Dust fell from the ceiling as the ground trembled beneath their feet. "They're getting closer," Lyra whispered urgently. "We must hurry." The group moved faster, shadows stretching and merging in the dim glow. Every step felt like a countdown. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at a heavy metallic door embedded in the rock wall. Strange symbols glowed faintly along its edges, pulsating with a life of their own. "This is it," Lyra said, her fingers tracing the symbols. "The safe chamber." Kale stepped forward and pressed his hand to a panel. The symbols flared brightly, and with a grinding sound, the door slid open. Inside, the chamber was vast and filled with technology that seemed both ancient and futuristic. Screens flickered. With star maps, strange devices hummed softly, and shelves held objects that defied Mark's understanding. "This place," Mark breathed, awe mingling with disbelief. Lyra moved to a central console and began typing commands on a holographic keyboard. "I need to access the archive. It holds information about the Council's plans and how to stop them." As she worked, Kyle scanned the area, eyes sharp and alert. "We're not alone," he warned. Before Mark could respond, alarms blared. Loudly, red lights flashing through the chamber. "They've found us," Lyra said grimly. "The agents are here." The trio prepared for confrontation, but instead of weapons, Kale pulled a device from his belt and activated it. A wave of energy surged through the room, creating a barrier of light that shimmered and pulsed. "Hold on," Kyle said. "This will buy us time." Outside, the sound of heavy footsteps and shouting echoed through the tunnels. Mark's heart pounded fiercely. Suddenly the barrier flickered. The agents were breaking through. Lyra's fingers flew over the console, accessing files and downloading data. "We need to get this information out," she said urgently. "It contains the coordinates to the Council's secret base and the key to stopping their weapon." Mark looked at her, determination burning in his eyes. "Whatever it takes," he said. Kyle nodded. "We'll need to move fast. The tunnels are collapsing." The ground shook violently, dust filling the air as cracks spread along the walls. They grabbed the data drives and sprinted back through the tunnels, the roar of destruction chasing them. Bursting out of the hidden exit, they emerged into the cold night air, gasping for breath. The world outside was dark and silent, but Mark knew their fight had just begun. The bitter wind whipped across the desolate outskirts of the city, carrying with it a chill that seeped into Mark's bones. The night was heavy with tension, every shadow seeming to flicker with danger. Mark, Lyra, and Kale had barely escaped the collapsing tunnels, but the threat was far from over. Mark clutched the small data drive tightly in his hand. The weight of what it contained pressing on him far more than its physical size suggested. The coordinates to the Council's secret base and the key to stopping their devastating weapon were now theirs. But how could a single human stand against a powerful alien council? Lyra's gaze was sharp, her jaw clenched with resolve. "We can't stay here," she said, scanning the horizon. "The Council's agents will be hunting us relentlessly. We need to find a safe place to regroup." Kale nodded in agreement. "There's a place nearby, an old Resistance hideout. It's well hidden, protected by ancient technology that can shield us from their detection." "Lead the way," Mark said, pushing past the cold that threatened to numb his limbs. The three moved swiftly through the shadows, slipping through alleys and deserted streets. The city felt abandoned, as if the world itself was holding its breath, waiting for the storm to break. As they walked, Mark's mind swirled with questions. What was the weapon the Council planned to unleash? Why had Lyra been exiled, and why had she chosen to trust him, a mere human, with this dangerous mission? Breaking the silence, Lyra finally spoke, her voice low and steady. "My people, the Council, they are not what they seem. They rule with fear and control, suppressing any who oppose them. I was cast out because I refused to obey their orders to annihilate your world." Mark's heart sank. "You're risking everything to save Earth?" "Yes," she said firmly, "because Earth is a sanctuary, a beacon of hope. If they destroy it, the balance in the universe will shatter." Kyle glanced back, his expression grim. "We don't have much time. The Council's forces are mobilizing. Once they learn we have the coordinates, they will come for us with everything they've got." Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught Mark's eye, a figure darting between the buildings, watching them. His hand instinctively moved to his pocket, where he kept a small stun device gifted by Lyra. "Someone's following us," he whispered. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Get ready." The figure stepped into the light, a young woman, her eyes wide with fear but determination burning within. "Wait," she called out urgently. "I'm on your side." Mark and Lyra exchanged a quick glance before, lowering their guards slightly. "My name is Tessa," the woman said, catching her breath. "I used to work for the Council, but I've been gathering intelligence for the Resistance. I have information that could help you." Kyle stepped forward, skeptical but intrigued. "Why should we trust you?" Tessa's gaze was steady. "Because I want to stop the Council's plans as much as you do, but alone, I can't do it." The group hesitated, the weight of trust heavy in the air. Finally, Mark spoke. "We don't have many options. If you're really with us, then we need your help." Tessa nodded, relief washing over her face. "Good, follow me. There's a safe place nearby." They followed Tessa through a maze of backstreets until they reached a nondescript door hidden behind a pile of crates. She tapped a secret code on a keypad, and the door hissed open. Inside was a small underground bunker filled with technology, maps, and weapons. Resistance members worked quietly, eyes flicking up as the newcomers entered. Lyra's face softened for the first time that night. "We're not alone," she whispered. The Resistance leader, a tall man with a scar across his cheek, approached. "Welcome back, Lyra. And you must be Mark and Kale." Mark nodded, feeling the weight of countless eyes on him. The leader continued, "We've been waiting for someone to bring us the coordinates. With your help, we can finally strike a blow against the Council." Over the next hours, the bunker buzzed with activity. Plans were drawn, data was analyzed, and weapons were prepared. Mark watched as the Resistance worked tirelessly, hope flickering in their eyes despite the overwhelming odds. But even as they prepared, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Late into the night, as the others rested, Mark stayed awake, staring at the data drive in his hand. Suddenly, a soft beep echoed from the device. His heart skipped a beat as a hidden message decrypted on the small screen. "Warning, surveillance breach detected. Trust no one." Mark's blood ran cold. The message blinked on the data drive's tiny screen like a cold, relentless warning. "Warning, surveillance breach detected. Trust no one." Mark's pulse thundered in his ears. His fingers trembled as he stared at the words, every instinct screaming that danger was closer than they thought. The bunker, once a symbol of hope, suddenly felt like a cage, fraught with uncertainty. He looked around at the quiet faces of the resistance members. Everyone was exhausted, worn from days of running and fighting. But what if one of them was the enemy? His eyes met Lyra's across the room. Her face was serene in repose, but Mark knew better than to trust appearances. The Council's spies were skilled, and if they'd penetrated this inner sanctum, it meant their enemies were watching every move. Kyle approached quietly, lowering his voice. "We have to act fast. If the Council knows where we are, they'll strike before dawn. We need to figure out who betrayed us," Mark said, tension tightening his throat. Lyra shook her head slowly. "The Council's tactics are advanced. They may have used a remote device to breach our systems. It doesn't mean someone here is a traitor yet." But the seed of doubt had been planted. Mark could feel it spreading like wildfire. The gathering. Storm as dawn's pale light filtered into the bunker's narrow windows. The resistance gathered in the main room. The leader, the scarred man named Joran, addressed them with grave seriousness. "Our enemies know we have the coordinates," Joran said, voice low but firm. "We have one chance, to strike at the heart of the Council's power before they can use the weapon." Lyra stepped forward. "The coordinates lead to a facility hidden deep within the shadow expanse. It's heavily guarded by drones and automated defenses. We'll need to disable their systems quickly and retrieve the weapon." Mark swallowed his fear. "What's the weapon exactly?" Lyra's eyes darkened. "A device that can freeze entire planets, rendering life extinct by locking molecular motion. They call it the cryo-core. If activated on Earth, it will be the end of humanity." The room fell silent. Kyle clenched his fists. "We can't let that happen." Plans and betrayals as preparations intensified, Mark found himself unable to shake the suspicion gnawing at him. Who could have betrayed them? And how? He decided to investigate quietly, starting with the new arrival, Tessa. She had seemed sincere, but Mark's gut warned otherwise. Late that night, Mark followed Tessa. As she slipped away from the bunker, he kept his distance, careful not to be seen. Tessa moved stealthily through the shadows until she reached a concealed comm device. Her voice was barely a whisper. "They've found us. Extraction is compromised." Mark's breath caught. She was definitely communicating with someone, probably the Council. Suddenly, a sharp click behind him froze him in place. "Looking for me, Mark." Tessa's cold smile sent a chill through him. Confrontation. Mark stepped into the dim light, heart pounding. "Why, Tessa? Why betray us?" She shrugged. "Survival, Mark. The Council offers power and safety, things your resistance can't." Lyra appeared silently beside Mark. "It's not too late. Come with us, Tessa. Help us save Earth." Tessa's eyes flickered with conflict, but then hardened. "No, I'm sorry." Before Mark could react, Tessa pressed a small button on her wrist. Alarms blared, red lights flashing throughout the bunker. "Betrayal!" Joran shouted as resistance members scrambled for weapons. The bunker erupted into chaos as Council drones poured in from hidden entrances. Fight or flight. Mark, Lyra and Kyle fought fiercely, but the drones' numbers overwhelmed them. Blasts echoed, sparks flew, and the air thickened with smoke. In the confusion, Mark grabbed Lyra's hand. "We have to escape!" They dashed toward a hidden tunnel Joran had shown them earlier, narrowly avoiding a deadly blast. As they ran, Lyra glanced back, fury blazing in her eyes. Tessa will regret this. Emerging into the freezing night, Mark's breath visible in the icy air, they knew the battle had just begun. New resolve. Huddled in the dark woods, Mark's thoughts churned. The Council had gained the upper hand. But the cryocore was still out there. "We can't let Tessa's betrayal stop us," Mark said, voice firm. "We need a new plan." Lyra nodded, determination in her gaze. "The weapons activation code is linked to the Council's leader. If we can reach him, we can shut it down." Kyle pulled out a small device. "There's a way in, through the old Royal Archives. It's risky, but it might be our only chance." Mark swallowed hard. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but their mission was clear. The fate of Earth, and perhaps the universe, depended on them. Cliffhanger. Suddenly, a faint glow illuminated the trees. Mark froze, heart racing. "Something's coming," Lyra whispered. From the shadows emerged a figure cloaked in darkness, one that Mark never expected to see again. "Mark." The voice was haunting, familiar. "You don't know the truth yet, but soon you will." The cold night air bit sharply at Mark's skin as the shadowed figure stepped into the dim moonlight. His breath caught in his throat. The face was unmistakable. It was Kalen. Kalen, once a trusted ally, believed dead in the early days of the rebellion. His eyes glowed faintly, betraying the alien heritage beneath his human guise. The weight of his return crushed the fragile hope Mark had clung to. "You've been running from the truth, Mark," Kalen said softly, voice carrying an eerie calm. "But it's time you understand everything. About the Council, the cryocore, and Lyra." Mark's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Kalen's gaze flickered to Lyra, who stood silently beside Mark, her expression unreadable. "Lyra is not just an exiled alien woman. She's the key to the Council's downfall and its survival," Kalen revealed. "The Council's real plan isn't just planetary destruction, it's rebirth." The shocking truth Mark's mind raced, struggling to grasp the magnitude of Kalen's words. Kalen continued, "The cryocore wasn't designed solely to freeze life. It's a catalyst, a tool to wipe the slate clean and create a new world order controlled by the Council's chosen." Lyra stepped forward, voice steady but filled with emotion. "I was sent away because I opposed their vision, but their power runs deep. Even in exile, I was bound by their chains. Why the urgency? Why force me into your bed that freezing night?" Mark asked, voice raw with confusion and lingering memories. Lyra's eyes softened. "You weren't just shelter from the cold. Mark, your human warmth was the key to awakening a dormant power within me, one they feared. You gave me strength I never had." Kalen nodded. "Humans possess something the Council never expected: resilience, hope, and unpredictable emotion. That's why they underestimated you." Race against time. Suddenly the ground trembled as Council warships descended like vultures, their engines humming ominously. "We don't have much time," Kalen warned. "The cryocore's activation sequence has begun." Mark looked at Lyra, determination hardening his resolve. "We finish this tonight. No more running." The trio sprinted toward the ancient Royal Archives, the last known location of the Council leader's hideout. Inside, rows of forgotten technology hummed faintly. Kalen scanned the room, fingers dancing over control panels trying to bypass security. "Lyra, Mark, we need to find the override code," he said urgently. Mark's hands shook as he searched the archives. Suddenly, a data crystal glowed faintly. From a dusty shelf, the key. As they extracted the crystal, the room's alarms blared. Council forces had breached the perimeter. Final confrontation. The doors burst open. A squad of armored Council soldiers stormed in, weapons raised. "Hold them off!" Kalen shouted, activating defensive barriers. Mark grabbed a plasma rifle from a fallen soldier. His heart raced, every shot a testament to survival. Lyra channeled alien energy, sending waves of force that threw enemies aside. The battle was fierce, every second critical. Kalen worked frantically on the console. Almost there, just a few more seconds. Mark's vision blurred with exhaustion and adrenaline. A soldier lunged toward him, but Lyra intercepted with a powerful strike. Suddenly the console beeped. "Override complete." Kalen pressed a sequence that sent a pulse through the cryocore systems. Outside, the warships faltered. There, engines sputtering, then shutting down. The Council's plan was unraveling. The aftermath, silence fell. The oppressive weight that had hung over Earth's fate lifted like a heavy fog. Mark, Lyra, and Kalen looked at each other, the exhaustion of survival mixed with cautious hope. "We did it," Mark whispered. Lyra smiled faintly. "For now." Kalen's eyes held a new light, a mix of warning and promise. The Council is defeated, but the scars remain. This victory is only the beginning, a deep lesson. As dawn painted the sky in hues of gold, Mark reflected on everything they'd endured. He realized that humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology or power. It was connection. The bond between him and Lyra, a human and an alien, had bridged worlds, defied fear, and sparked a revolution. In the coldest moments, it was warmth, hope, trust, love that could freeze the tide of darkness. The future was uncertain, but for the first time, Mark believed that humanity and its allies could face it together. Final words, the story of the exiled alien woman's desperate command wasn't just about survival against cosmic odds. It was about the resilience of the human spirit, the power of unlikely alliances, and the unyielding quest for freedom. And as Mark looked at the rising sun, he knew one thing for certain. No matter the darkness ahead, humanity would endure. Freeze alert over. The future awaits. The end